1. I did work front desk when I was doing a placement in a chain hotel. One Friday evening, I was on the desk, and an older couple comes to check in. Ask their name, and there is nothing in the system for them. Search their names in case it's a wrong date booking, and nothing. I ask them when did they make the booking, and they say only a couple of hours ago. They spoke to a lady, didn't get her name. I ask them the price, and they say 89 euros. Alarm bells go off, as the price for a double this night was 129 euros minimum. I'm thinking they have booked another hotel in the town and got mixed up. We were the first hotel on the main road into town, so it had happened before. But no, they were insistent it was here, and it was 89 euros. There were only 2 female members of staff that they could have booked with. One was on the split shift that day, and she was there to confirm it wasn't her. The other person was our reservations manager, a very experienced person who set the prices, and was the one who told us at handover that any rooms for the night could be sold at the reduced price of 129 euros. So we were all 100% sure that she would not have sold the room for 89, and if she takes a reservation, she either enters it herself or leaves it in the reservation tray for us to check and enter regularly. At this stage, the guests are very irate but not disrespectful. We only have a couple of rooms left and are not willing to budge on our stance. The duty manager gets called and we explain, no booking, wrong price. It all just seems wrong, and he backs us up. Basically says they can certainly have a room, but it's 129, and there is no way anyone at this hotel has sold you a room for only 89 euros. The couple leave and we forget about it. Monday morning, and the other receptionist tells the reservation manager about the encounter, and her face falls. This couple had phoned at 4:59 p.m. on Friday. She was in a rush out, and they caught her on the hop. They were asking lots of questions about a deal they'd seen advertised for 89 euros that was available midweek only. So she just gives in and gives them the deal. She filled out the reservation slip, but didn't leave it for reception to enter. She put it in her desk diary and closed it as she ran out. Of course, she didn't take their number or address, only their names, as they would be here in a couple of hours. So we weren't even able to phone or contact them to apologize. The duty manager is pissed. I was pissed too, as I basically called them liars, and they weren't horrible people. But it just proved sometimes, no matter how improbable something seems, there is always human error to factor in. If that exact situation happened again, I would handle it differently. 2. So, first hotel I got in also happened to be the largest and oldest hotel in my hometown. And for the outside viewer or guest, it probably seemed like a paradise. It had around 120 rooms, a pool area, sauna, gym, and all that jazz. It was kinda fancy, so to speak. Only just kinda, though. One day, we have a male house guest, 30-ish, something years old, looks like a businessman. Well-spoken, seems very calm and polite, and generally doesn't appear to be the kind to cause trouble over nothing. It's an extended stay, around 7 or 8 days, and for the most part, the stay goes well. He pays his 7 or 8 days and doesn't really have any complaints, even compliments the staff and the luxuries the hotel offers. Cool dude, right? So the stay goes by, and it's the day he's supposed to check out. It so happens to be an important holiday here in my country as well, and since the hotel was kinda like a resort, we were fully booked by a group of people that wanted to use the pool area and etc. to throw a small party. So it was bound to be a busy day. I was working the front desk at the time, morning shift, and our star guest comes by. I expect him to hand me the keys so I can check him out, but instead he comes over and says something along the lines of, "Sorry, I know I'm supposed to leave today, but I'll actually have to stay the holiday due to work." Now, he did not ask us prior if we would have vacancy for the holiday. He simply assumed that we would. I politely tell him that unfortunately we are fully booked, and that at the moment there is no possibility to extend his stay. The moment I explain that to him, his demeanor switches. Now he's questioning what exactly I mean, that we can't kick him out, and that he demands that we cancel another booking so we can keep him there. Obviously, there is no way I can do that. So I tell him he can use the hotel area for the day if necessary, and that if someone cancels, we'll let him know, but he, who's pretty worked up at this point, simply goes, "No, it's fine, I'll pack my stuff and leave right now." He storms back to his room, and I'm just standing there thinking, well, never judge a book by its cover, I guess. Little did I know that would be the understatement of the century. After about 20 minutes or so, he comes back, slams the key on the counter, says goodbye, and leaves in a hurry. Now, he had already paid, so I didn't really care. I was just glad this asshole was leaving, so I got back to my work. But after 15 minutes, I hear one of the maids scream from the corridor, "Oh my God!" I'm startled and run over to see what's going on. So do some of the other maids. She's standing by the room the same guest was in, freaking out. And when I go to look inside, goddamn mattress is on fire. One of the maids quickly goes to get the fire extinguisher, and we deal with the situation. After the literal smoke settles, we also realize that this absolute maniac also took the time to smear shit all over the walls before running off. I shit you not. To this day, I don't know if that guy ever faced any repercussions for what he did. But that day I learned a valuable lesson I still carry with me to this day. Guests can be fucking terrifying. 3. So, we have a couple of guests that are problem guests when it comes to payment. The type of stuff any normal hotel would tell them 100% get fucked and leave, but alas, here we are. For a little context, we are an extended stay hotel, so we frequently see guests that stay a month or more. So our first guest, Mr. Charisma, got a little behind on payment for his room about a week ago, to the sum of $500. Our AGM, GM, and regional director all told him you need to pay or be kicked out over the space of 3 days, and he kept ducking us. Day 3 comes and I show up. I convince the GM that we can't stand for this and we need our payment now and to put him on DNR for this stuff. She tells me fine, I put him on DNR, and she has me leave a strongly worded note that basically stated, "Hey, you have until 10 a.m. to pay us or we call the cops." I go home for the day happy that this issue has been taken care of and will resolve itself one way or another by 10 a.m. Boy, was I wrong. So he ends up having a friend come pay off his balance and convinces the GM to let him extend. A week later, he is once again in debt, $150 this time, and is once again evading payment. GM told him this morning he had to pay by 11. At 11, he came and dropped off a note to my AGM that says, to get our payment, we will need to email such and such a person and they will handle it, which is complete bull and not a hoop we will be willing to jump through. Now, my AGM knows that the right thing to do here is tell this man to pay up or get lost, but every time we make a move like this, the GM does not support us and lets him extend, or talk her into an extension for payment. This has, of course, led to our AGM wondering what the fuck she's even doing here because she doesn't have the ability to make decisions in the best interest of the hotel without getting overruled. Now, dear listener, sadly this isn't our worst guest issue, not by a long shot. Cue guest number 2. We call her Octomom. Mrs. Octomom checked in early last month and, as of writing, currently owes us $3,600. About 2 weeks ago, I brought this to my GM's attention, and she let me know that she knows these guests don't have the money, that they're applying for DHS help to hopefully pay the bill, but that could take months. She says she is going to let them stay until the 15th in the hopes that they will pay some amount, and we get some kind of money from this screw-up. So you have someone that you have let rack up a humongous debt you know they can't pay, and your solution is to give them more time to rack up more debt on the hopes that they will pay half of their debt, at which point you will let them extend their stay. To be honest, it's not even the guest's fault at this point. We 100% have laid down and put up a huge sign that says, "Walk all over us." This guest has many other issues, mostly involving the fact that her kids tend to run free whenever they want and cause mayhem late at night, unless reined in, but payment is definitely the one I feel like the GM should be taking seriously. Oh, and did I mention Mrs. Octomom doesn't have one room, but actually has 2? Thankfully, we caught the second room before it got bad, and they have managed to stay fairly caught up with payment on that one, but still. Anyway, this has been my rant of the day. Sorry, it was long-winded, but if you made it this far, thank you and have a pleasant day. 4. I worked at Motel 9 a few years back. It was on from 3 to 11. We had several construction workers that were repeat customers and were very sweet. They made the job worth it, honestly. We also had our fair share of crackheads, Karens, and other assorted losers. My boss, the owner, was from India and was very big on saving money. He insisted that the breakfast milk be put from the pitcher back into the milk jug and reused the next day, rather than dumping it out. Gross, I refused. He was also very insistent that we give the customers what they ask for. Which leads me to this story. One evening around 7 p.m., I had a guy checking in. We extended some pleasantries, etc. Nothing to write home about. I went through the standard asking for ID, form of payment, everything went smoothly. I could smell alcohol on his breath, so I assigned him to room 101, right next to the office, to keep an eye on him, as I had a nagging feeling about him. He went to his room. I thought that would be the end of it. Wrong. Half an hour later, he was back at my front desk, asking for the Wi-Fi password and flirting with me. I give him the password and again send him on his merry way. Another 15 minutes pass, and Mr. 101 is back at the front desk, flirting still, and the air of alcohol coming off him is stronger. He tells me he needs more towels. Mind you, he hasn't even used the first ones. I run him off back to his room again. Then 10 minutes later, he's back and very boldly tells me that because he paid for his room, he owns me. Excuse me, you what? I know I didn't hear that right. He had the balls to repeat it. He tells me that he owns me and that I need to do what he wants. Now I'm getting mad. I run him off to his room once again. I call the owner and I tell him I'm about to kick this guy to the curb and DNR him. He tells me no, that I can't. That I should be a gracious host to our guest. Wait, excuse me, what? No, sir. I'm not going to become a lady of the evening just because a customer thinks he purchased me when he paid for his room. Mr. 101 returns once again, trying to wrangle me into his room. I, at this point, was fuming. I told him if I see his face once more tonight, it's not going to end well for him. He makes a few more choice comments and goes back to his room. But the million-dollar question, will he stay there? No, he did not. He brings his drunken, sloppy self back to my front desk. At this point, I've had it. I text my husband and explain the short end of it. All of a sudden, I hear a truck pull up from outside. I hear, "Go sit with your mama for a minute." And my 5-year-old daughter walks into the front desk area. I hear the sound of a baseball bat pounding on the door to room 101. Imagine that. All of a sudden, Mr. 101 is nowhere to be found. He's not answering the door or anything. If he looked through the peephole, he would have been confronted with my 6'6", 375-pound husband. That may be why he, all of a sudden, lost interest in his purchase. Let me tell you, Mr. 101 did not step foot out of that room the rest of the night, and the next morning he left quietly without a word to anyone. Telling me that he owns me, hardly. I just don't understand what makes people tick. 5. My co-worker, Katie, thinks this was embarrassing, but I think the whole thing was hilarious. I know I sound mean in this, but she approved the way I told it. So, the process for left-behind items at our inn is the housekeepers call it in over the walkie when they find it. We write it down and either call or text the guest that left it. This day, a housekeeper from one of our suites lets us know that a certain medication was left behind. It was prescribed erectile dysfunction meds like Viagra. Katie, already dreading the conversation, was tasked with calling them, and I listened with glee. "Hello, this is Katie at the hotel. Our housekeepers found an item in your room after you checked out this morning." "Oh, what is it?" Katie, already curling up her fingers in distress, says, "It was a prescription medicine." "Oh, I thought we got it all. What kind was it?" Katie's now turning redder in the face than a nun in a sauna. "Well, it's a personal medicine for men." I'm sorry, I don't understand. It's like a blue pill? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought my husband left that at home. I didn't even know he brought it with us. We're already 4 hours away, but our son is still in town. We'll tell him to go pick it up for us. Katie hung up, relieved. But the fun started when housekeeping finally brought down the package, and it had a different name on it than the guest Katie had just called. After we panicked, we checked, and the previous guest in that suite matched the name and address on the prescription label. I feel kinda bad for laughing at her despair, but Katie didn't object to continuing the process of making a fool of herself. Even more so when Katie tried calling the woman back to tell her of the mistake, but couldn't get a hold of her, and we didn't have the son's number. I suggested waiting until the son got there and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry. It was actually another gentleman's name on the package, left in your mother's room. Our mistake." Just to cause family drama, but I was told no. So Katie, now internally dying, had to call the guest who had checked out over a week ago and tell them we had their ED medication. She had her face in her hands almost the entire time, and the man it belonged to was the one who answered. The poor man was silent for so long before stuttering out to just get rid of it and hung up. Then the son of the first guest we called showed up. "Hey, my parents left something here when they checked out. They told me to get it." "Hi, yeah, I'm so sorry. But there was a mix-up and it actually belonged to another room number." "Oh, that's fine. Can I actually know what it was? They wouldn't tell me." "Well, it was a prescription of sorts. Like medicine or cream or... I don't want to say." "Okay, just tell me this. Was it personal medicine?" "Yes." "Okay, thank you." He then walked out, and I had to excuse myself from the desk to laugh in the back, while Katie slowly sat on the floor. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw, episode 134. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, do hit that like button. It helps YouTube recommend the video to other people, and we like it when they do that because view numbers tend to drip this time. Drip? Drop? Sorry, I was thinking about the Viagra again. They tend to fall this time of year, so any help we can get helps keep things going. Okay. Oh yes, if you would like to get early access to these videos, then you can support me through my Patreon page. Just click the link to that in the description. You'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer merchandise page located on Teespring. And for those of you who've already bought yourself some merchandise, thank you very much. It always makes me very happy to know there are people out there wearing clothing items that I designed. Well, I designed most of them, one or two other people did. And if you'd like to leave a tip, then you can do so by clicking on that little heart with a $sign in the middle of it and select the tip of your choice. You don't have to do this, and you never ever have to do this. I've seen channels that kind of try to guilt people into doing it, and that's just not the way that works. It's optional, it's all optional, and I do very much appreciate those of you who choose to. Thank you kindly. Now, I've been debating on making this announcement, but I think I may. Now, those of you who've been here from the beginning may recall that I used to, I started doing like short documentaries in the early days of the channel. I think I did 1, 2, was it? 2, maybe? I know I definitely did at least one. That, quite frankly, the content of which I'm not proud of. I have since deleted it from the channel because I just didn't feel good about it. It was on Elisa Lam, and that's a subject that I think a lot of people have exploited. I could go on and on about that, but I'm certainly ashamed that I covered it, and I think everyone else who did and tried to imply there was some sort of mysterious circumstance there should also be ashamed. She was just a poor young woman, had a mental health condition. She had an episode while she was away from her support system, and it ended badly. That's what happened there. But all that is a roundabout way of saying that I'm deciding that, as that was initially one of the remits of the channel, and oddly inspired by H. Bomber Guy's takedown of James Somerton, to do things right, because you all know how I like to follow the rules. Well, I like to follow the rules when it comes to doing my YouTube job. I might be a naughty boy elsewhere. I've decided to dust off the documentary idea. So I'm thinking documentary is somewhere between 10 minutes and 30 minutes long. Maybe longer, maybe shorter. We'll see what the subject matter is. Could be on any subject, just things that interest me. And my fiancée Jack has agreed to help me with the research, and they might even be willing, possibly, we're still working out the details, willing to record segments, and we might do some videos together. So, that is I guess that's the state of the channel address. So we'll be doing that in the upcoming year. I don't think I'll be dawdling too long on it. I'm generally able to I've been doing this long enough now that I can get 7 days videos done in 2 days. There's usually a bit of administrative work throughout the week, but it doesn't take super long. So that does free up my time now to then work on research and recording other things throughout the week. So that's where we're heading. I don't know what the first one's going to be. As I say, it could be anything from just topics that interest me. It could be profiles on actors I find interesting. Literally anything that appeals to me. I'll probably give it a title or something, just so we can group them all together. But I think it would be most sensible to start them off on here. And if they're not well received here, maybe roll them over to another channel, but we'll see. No question today, I think, because I have yammered on for quite a lot. But do let me know what you think in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.